What's good, everybody? What's up, man? It's Steven QUALLifiedTV, a.k.a. Mr. Qualified. It's your boy. You feel me? And I got another special guest with me. I will go ahead and just let him introduce himself, and then we'll get right into the interview.
Yeah, it's your boy, Landalin, at Landalin LSW, if you like social media, but born and raised Columbia, Missouri, rapper and or comedian, depending on how you look at it, I guess. That's how it goes. But what's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Yeah, no, man. It's been, we were just talking about it off camera, but man, we've known each other for 5 years now.
Hot
and it's been crazy kind of how even though we haven't been necessarily directly connected, we had a lot of ties over the last few years that we'll definitely get into in the midst of this interview for sure. But my first question I definitely want to ask is, when did you fall in love with music? When did you fall in love with even the idea of rapping?
Man, I think music was always around. I think everybody can say, oh, I remember music was always around. But I think I attribute it to my mom, really. My mother, she basically she's really into music. She really loved rap music. So it was the first rap music I ever heard was what she was playing in the car. It was like, late 90s, early 2000s stuff. She played a lot of Ludacris, a lot of Shaggy, a lot of Nelly, Eminem, obviously, a lot of that stuff. So it was just influence, just listening to her things, and then I also got other influences in music. Like she listened to Enya, she listened to Creed, she listened to just all those typical things that were hot back then. Like she was listening to charts, so she'd have CDs and CD changer all the time. And I would, just be memorizing songs and not knowing words. I think I got sent to the principal's office when I was in third grade because I was singing "Who's a ho, ho, who's a ho, ho." So had no idea what that meant. And it was so funny when the principal broke it down. He's like, "So what did you say?" And I went, "Who's a ho, ho," and I was singing. I was like, "Oh, you want to know the words too? Okay, cool. I'll teach you." So and I got in mad trouble for it. But I think music's always been around. I don't think I ever warmed up to the idea of actually making music until high school, and that was just really just trying to impress a chick. If I'm being honest,
doesn't it always start with that?
It always. I was like, "Oh yeah, girl, I'll write you a little rap song." And I legit, it was never even my idea. It was my buddy. My boy Michael Fentress, shout out to Michael. That was my homeboy, still is to this day, and he was like, "Well, you know what you should do. You can. I heard you rap along the songs. Write a little rap." It was literally I think he was serious, but I was like, "Okay, whatever. If you think this is gonna get me, give me some action, fine." So it started off as literally just I'm just writing this silly ass rap for this girl, and then that kind of was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just play around with this. So I was writing in secret. I was writing in secret from 15 to 18, and then right about 18, I think I was encouraged by a lot of people around me that I did kind of joke songs or parody songs, or maybe I was doing a funny rap for a school project. But then eventually enough people around me were like, you kind of got a little bit of a flow there. I know you got to work on delivery and some other stuff. Maybe you should try. Have you ever tried really writing stuff, really trying to write songs and try to do that? I was like, no, I never considered it. And so finally, it was the summer of my senior year. I linked up with my man Tony J. Shout out to Tony J. Shout out to Rocky J as well. Plain Simple Records in the bitch. I linked up with those guys literally over the summer because they were also they had been writing for some time and were trying their hand at rapping. Tony actually had already been recording at a studio, and that was Savage Block Productions. Shout out DJ T-Sav. But you talk about how it's crazy how you just meet one person and then that person makes you meet another person and another person and another person, and fast forward. And I've been recording now going on 9 years, and I've met so many people and still have friendships to this day of just people you just get connected with. And that was the first time I stepped in a booth was that senior year of high school when I was 18.
Oh wow, no, that's crazy. Yeah. No, that's the funny story about getting in trouble at school, because I didn't do it at school, but I remember walking around the house singing Mary Jane, not knowing what Mary Jane was at the time, and my mom's was just kind of First off, where did you hear that? And do you even know what that means? And I'm like, it's a woman apparently.
Spider-Man's girlfriend.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Ah, clearly it's a girl. She was like, no, it's not that. And I'm gonna need you not to sing that no more. I was just like, all right, like, but no, it was meant. But that's always so funny when you don't understand what songs mean when you're hilarious. A kid, and then you figure out later, and you like.
And then you get old.
I think about it all the time, and I'm looking back like, yo, I was really singing that with my whole chest.
When I get older, and then I re-listen to those records that my mom was playing in the car and dropping me off at like first grade, and then I re-listen to them now, and I'm like, Mom, what is wrong with you?
Why are you playing this with me in the car?
So yeah,
the radio edit did not help.
No,
but no. So you get in the studio for the first time at 18. Yeah. Speak to that experience, and what was the process like getting comfortable in the studio, and then from there, how was it kind of finding and honing what you wanted your sound to be, and who you wanted to be as a rapper?
Yeah, so I mean, the first experience being in the studio, I was nervous as shit. Like, I think a lot of people can relate to that too. Because I think I was very excited, like, but I had zero. I think I went in not knowing. I definitely didn't know anything about what this actually involves.
Right.
Like, I think I went in with a kind of an idea, but when you sit and see the process of working with an engineer, knowing the terminology to use, knowing how to communicate between back and forth in that, when you're in that booth and the engineer's sitting here, how are you going to effectively communicate between each other on how far back do you want me to take it back on the track? Like what? So there was just a lot of things that I didn't know what I was doing, and the whole time, like, I remember just like multiple times, I'm pretty sure Sav was like yelling at me, "Hey!" Like he was trying to get my attention because I was in the booth like dancing to myself, like, "Yeah, we here." Like I was so into it, like, yeah, you just feel really cool, like, yeah, we're in the booth, man, like, yeah, we're doing it, like, even like hadn't spit anything, right? I was just in there like, yeah, taking selfies and shit, and Sav's like, "Excuse me, we gotta work." So that was a learning experience of like knowing the flow, knowing the terms, knowing. And at that time, I didn't know anything about my sound, really. I was just copying I was literally just copying the artists that I liked. My first mixtape I put out at the end of my senior year of high school, that was my official, like, I'm really doing this. Like, my acting teacher asked me at the very beginning of the year, now is the time to say what you want to be. It's your senior year, and don't hold back. Say it no matter how weird it is. And I said, I'm a rapper, and I've been writing rap records all year, and I'm planning on releasing a mixtape before I graduate. And then I literally had people looking at me like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with this kid?" But like, I did it, and like that mixtape was literally just all remixes of like songs I liked that year. Like, but and I was mimicking other rappers that I really liked, because I didn't know what I was, what that sound would look like. And then I think fast forward, with the tutelage and the advice from Evi to Prince, shout out Evi, and DJ T-Sav, Grammatic, mixed by Grammatic, Plain Simple Records, and getting that all together, having my buddies like Arthur around, and the support of my girl. It's just been kind of like a process over years and years and years, and the people that I've had around me to just kind of just trust in finding my own sound, and kind of like distancing myself from like listening to too much. Just like I'm very aware of what I put into my brain, like I put into you put into your stomach. So like I'm only gonna listen to stuff that I aspire to be like, or listen to stuff that I want to like take cues from, and I want to learn, study the greats, and I don't listen to a lot of. I might listen to something new if it's funny once, but I'm like, all right, I'm not adding that to my library because I don't want to. Like, I'm just very like aware of the influence on myself, I guess, in that sound. Right. So it's been a journey finding myself, and I guess, that just took a lot of time, man. A lot of hard knocks, taking a lot of years off and not releasing music to like make myself wait to release it. Like, from the point of dropping my first mixtape to the point of dropping Sweet Tooth, which was my first EP, that was at least 3 years in between, almost 3 to 4 years, where I just like, people even like after I left high school, they thought well, that lasted a while. I'm like, no, I'm still doing it. I'm just working on a project right now. They're like, oh, okay, yeah. And I dropped Sweet Tooth, and they're like, oh, so I guess he really did that project. Right. And then 25/7, oh, well, he followed up it again with another one. Oh, well, then VHS happened. And I was like, oh, okay, so it wasn't until I got to about the point with VHS that I actually had people that I was going to high school with, actually people who would roast me, make fun of me, talk all kinds of shit. It wasn't until VHS where people actually started to come around and say, hey man, like, I just want to say, like, I didn't fuck with it back in high school. I didn't think it was very good, but like now I see the development, and I think it was like just finding myself through the being your own biggest fan, and just kind of hyping yourself up and finding the sound.
I think that's one thing that I've always respected, is that and we were just talking about it from the moment that I met you. You've been you, unapologetically and confidently, and it makes you just. It's hard not to respect somebody that's always them. Like, I always respect people who are unapologetic. So knowing that, and you were never, not that you had a reason to be, but you were never ashamed of anything. And it's like you always knew what the initial thought was when somebody looked at you, and you were just like, I know what you think probably, but you'll see in due time that I'm still about this, and that's great. And I'm glad you mentioned Arthur and 25/7, because again, we talked about it off camera, but that's when me and you first met, 2015 range, and met on a whim. Like, I met Arthur randomly from working at the Boys and Girls Club, and then, like you said, you were getting off of work one day, and it was funny because he would always talk about you, and he'd be like, I got this white best friend, he rap, and you wouldn't think he rap, but he cold, and I was and I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, if you rap, you rap. And so you came by there one day, and we just started talking music and everything, man, and I'll never forget, because he was shooting, I remember the spot. And he was shooting, he was shooting the promo for the spot, because they shot it at Aspen, I think, where he was living at the time. And so but I even remember hearing the spot, and I was like, okay, I was like, for me, just like first time listen, I was like, there's something there for sure. But man, that's where our connectedness really started, because from there it was like, okay, I always knew, I was like, okay, he's a rapper, he's here. And then that went into me being able to connect you with IMAX, and then you were already, I'll let you speak more to what that relationship has been like. I
appreciate that, man. Like, I always felt like I love that part. I love the part of being looked at and unexpected. I love it. It's the best. I can tell you, like, there's one show I did where I literally showed up. I purposely was like, I'm gonna dress as plain as absolutely possible. And I mean, like, I wore a regular red flannel, blue jeans, some Chuck Taylors, very unassuming. I think I purposely didn't wear contacts. I put my glasses on. I wanted to look as plain Jane, nerdy, just regular dude, just hanging out at the bar, just catching a drink, catching a show. And I started chatting people up at the bar. And then they said, all right, and just one announcement, we're going to have Landalin up here. Landalin need to be up here on stage in 5 minutes. And I just acted like it wasn't me. And everybody was kind of looking around, like, I wonder whose that is. And I was like, I don't know. So I started talking shit with people at the bar. And so they go, all right, Landalin, it's time. And I was like, all right, and just finished my drink. I'm like, see y'all in a bit. And then I went up on stage, and just to see people's faces melt off and their brains, because like I love being unexpected. I know that, like, going in, I'm under a magnifying glass. Like, it's different now. It's not as taboo to be a white rapper anymore, but it is still like relatively, people are gonna be like, okay, I'm at least gonna put a magnifying glass on you because you better be good. Otherwise, we're gonna trash you. As we should. Like, anybody who's like picking this up, if you're like that's how it goes. So like, I've always appreciated that, like, okay, go ahead, doubt me for a little bit. Just give me 5 to 10 minutes on stage. Just give me 5 to 10 minutes. And if you still don't like it afterwards, I'll respect it. But I always like being that unexpected part. But yeah, man, I mean, you linked me and IMAX. It was so random, because like, you just happened to say, like, yo, I was just hitting you up, and I said, hey man, like, I've been talking to these producers online, and that's cool and all, but like, it's hard to really, develop that in-person relationship and really get that organic, truly authentic, organic sound, that thing that just feels like it's fully homegrown, homemade.
Yeah.
So there's no, like, I didn't borrow anything from anybody. I wrote it from the heart. Somebody made something from the heart on their beats, and also we personally know each other. There's that bond there. So that was important to me from the jump, was I wanted to have that, like, that chemistry that Dre and M have. I wanted to have that chemistry that Timberlake and Timbaland have. Yeah. I wanted to have that chemistry like, Pharrell and, Jay did at one point. There's just like, when, I wanted that producer and artist relationship. I wanted to have a homie that I could trust, and and him trust me in the same way, and we can lean on each other and just say, hey, I know you're going to get the job done just like I'm going to get the job done, and the quality is always going to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
So when you told me about IMAX, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll check them out. So then like, I think the very first beat actually that I heard was the beat to Nimbus.
Wow.
Oh, that was like the very first, and it was like one and done. Like that was the first beat of his that I listened to. He was like, "Yeah, I'll send you some stuff." I was like, "Okay, just to check out." I was like, "Okay, cool." And that's the first thing he sent to me. And I said, "Okay, so how much do I need to pay you so I can rap on this? And this is how can we make this happen?" And like from there, it was history. Like we did Nimbus, full blown Dragon Ball Z weed smoking song, like, and it was just these super chill, like almost lo-fi hip hop vibes and. You know, from his work on his beats and the thing I put on it, I've started to really like the lo-fi hip-hop sound and lo-fi sounds and that type of, you know, I love that type of production, and to combine that with, I have a boom bap sort of style lyrically I can, but I also like to speed it up on trap beats. I like to go old school with it and be very lyrical and slow and poetic, but I also like to just chop, like on something like my track Daddy that I did with Zeroni over in Spain. Like that was a whole EDM vibe. So I love experimenting with sounds, and IMAX brought just so many different sounds to his beats I had never heard before. And I just said, man, this is going to be a good working relationship. And so it just has continued to, I mean, him doing half of VHS. After Nimbus, I said, I mean, I need you on more. I need more of you on this next project.
Right.
So he did at least half of VHS. I mean, just home run after home run. Everything he touched on that project was just fucking amazing. And then we kind of just came to a conclusion, like, I want to do whole projects with you now. Like, if you're gonna touch it, I don't want anybody else touching it. I trust him. They got to the point where I fully could trust him and say, I know that we're gonna come with a full thing, and then Cavity happened. I mean, me and him did 100% Cavity together, and then we agreed that the VHS sequel would be 100% me and him too. So it's been awesome.
Man,
putting that discography together. Really.
Man, as a fan of both of y'all, I can't even describe the feeling of just seeing it work, because there's a lot of times you can let somebody know, hey, I know this rapper, you know, check him out if you can, and sometimes that never happens. Or, you know, hey, I know this producer, check him out if you can, and you know, it may not happen. But for y'all to link up and for it to work, and for it to kind of become what I thought, you know, it could be when I said y'all should get in contact, has been amazing. I think y'all have, you know, elevated each other. I know for him, that's kind of what I like. For him being IMAX, that's what that is, bringing in experience. So, you know, the fact that he was able to kind of give that to you and help you kind of find ways to elevate it's just amazing. It's amazing in general, man. But that relationship is important. Like you said, that producer-artist relationship, I think every artist has a producer that will always know them best. So when do you feel like you really came into your own as an artist? When do you feel like you kind of reached that point where you're like, somebody, whether it's trying to be signed, whether it's like building your fan base, you're just like, y'all are getting probably, if not the closest thing, y'all are getting one of, I'm near my peak, and y'all are getting
true
the
me,
you're getting the true me, and the me that y'all probably want to catch now before everybody gets on. Like, when did you feel like you reached that point?
Man, I feel like VHS was kind of a turning point. I think it's every project I think it's gotten a step closer to that. Every single project, and it should be, but like, I think 25/7 was when I started like really developing my pen. Like Sweet Tooth was, okay, I put a project out with original beats. That's one step. Okay. I didn't do any remixes. It wasn't a mixtape. It was original music from scratch. That was the first step. 25/7 was like, okay, now I'm going to give you a feature-length project, and it's all going to be original music, And still only going to do it on SoundCloud originally. Everything is on everything, by the way. Go look me up. It's on Spotify and Apple. You can find it. But like at the time, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a feature-length project, but I'm only going to keep it on SoundCloud because I didn't feel like I want to season it. I want to get seasoned. If I'm going to make this debut on these stores, I want to get this kind of like, at that time, SoundCloud was kind of relevant to be like, hey, put your project on SoundCloud, let it bubble up. It might blow. Yeah. And then next thing you know, all these other big companies will want you.
I mean, that's what happened with Tiller.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's was kind of my time. I'm like, all right, well, we'll put 25/7 out. But it was VHS when me and Graham got together and we said, shout out to Graham again, one of my engineers that I've worked with, like, and also brought me into this Plain and Simple Records thing. Like just looking at that project, I think that was the turning point for me where it really felt like, that is Landalin. That was like the baby. That was VHS truly was that project that I could say this was everything from start to finish from scratch, just something that I created out of just love, my love for nostalgia, whether it was, movies and television and pop culture, clothing, like I'm a 90s baby and I love things from the 90s, like I love just vintage styles and chic things like that. So I wanted to create something for our generation, and I wanted to create something for my family, who I'm from and where I'm from, but also my generation. I wanted all that to come in together and just create both, like, it's going to harken back to some boom bap here. You're going to hear some old school hip hop flows. You're going to hear some old school, like, production, but then also the very next track you could hear something absolutely trap, just grimy, like Borgore type trap EDM on another. Like it's just like I wanted to give a lot of different flavors, but also it was always with the mindset of I'm doing this like this is for the 90s babies. This is for me as a kid. I want me as a kid to be like, all right, like if I had a time machine, I was like, all right, I'm killing it. All right, never mind. Like I'm doing good. So VHS was that turn where I felt like I'm all right. Now I think people are now starting to see my own sound. I'm coming into my own. I'm actually writing from the heart. I'm not putting up walls. I think that's the hardest part. Like, is the lower your walls and be vulnerable enough to write about stuff that's not typical rap bullshit. Like, and I sometimes you just want to do rap. You just want to rap. You want to be braggadocious. You want whatever. But I think like you're never gonna be able to find yourself truly as an artist if you don't be more vulnerable. Write things that are off the cuff. Write about things that are not cool. Yeah. Find things that aren't cool. Write about those. Those are the records that people have told me that are their favorite records. When I wrote Man on VHS, I mean, that stands for marijuana, alcohol, nicotine. That is purely about my struggles with addiction my entire life. Whether it was seeing examples of it from my family and then how it translates to me as a young adult. Like, that was not a fun record to write. It was tough to write. Right. But I had people who were literally who DM'd me the day I dropped that music video, people who I had never heard of before, who write me messages talking about how, just thanking me because they're like, look, I've struggled with sobriety myself, and this kind of makes me feel a little confident to start a conversation about that. And so, like, I want to just, like, push the envelope more for me moving forward, and Cavity is kind of like, all right, let's really knock some walls down. Let's be even more vulnerable. I wrote a record, Liquor Store, about my girlfriend, Erica Trigg. What's up, babe? But, me and her have been dating, going on 5 years, and I truly intend on marrying that woman one day. So that was like, I realized I never wrote a record about our relationship, about me and her, how we found each other, how it was so unconventional, and how I didn't want to commit. And I still kick myself in the ass to this day for, playing games originally. So it's like, I got a chance to. I think now VHS, Cavity, those were the times where I feel like I'm having fun making music, because now it's literally I'm just like barren. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I think I've finally hit this point where I'm like, I'm just gonna be as vulnerable as possible. I guess like we talked about being unexpected. I feel like I had to really come with it every chance I got. Every time I'm on stage, I treat it like this is the last show you'll ever do. Right. I'll blow my voice out if I have to. I go really, really hard because I wanted to show people that I'm not here for a gimmick. I'm not here to prey upon a culture or not appreciate it or respect it. Like, because this is really just like something I just love doing and I've always enjoyed doing. So I felt like I always brought it when I was on stage, and you know, if people liked it, they were fucked with me, respect it, it's all love. Like, I feel like anybody who's brave enough to get on stage with a microphone, you got my respect. If I don't like your music, it doesn't mean that I don't respect you and you getting up and doing that, because there's so many people that don't even have the strength or confidence to just do that part. So like, I always respect anybody who just gives it a shot, and I hope people at least respected me giving it a shot when I do, because I do take it serious, you know. It's a passion. So yeah, it was a lot of scrap and a lot of proving myself, and I do take it serious. Like, I don't drink until I get off stage, for example. Like, I always treat it like I want to be a professional, so I always act professional. I'm not drinking a whole lot before stage. I smoke a little bit for my nerves, but other than that, I'm very focused. I don't talk a whole lot. I think sometimes people think I'm just being all standoffish in Hollywood at a show, but most of the time I'm just trying to stay focused. Until I get off stage. We can do shots all night. I'll take an Uber home. We're fine. Like, if I get off stage, let's start drinking now. I'm like, all right, sorry I was quiet all night. Let's catch this thing up. So that's just kind of how I've always approached it. I've approached it as much as I can be as a professional.
And that's dope, and that really kind of leads me to this question. So, you know, as far as where you're at now, you've spoken about kind of your discography and how you've had this evolution with each project. And even within your life, you kind of had this evolution where you've been more comfortable open up about certain things. So where you're at now, you know, on the cusp of getting ready, you know, for whatever your next project might be, what is your mindset now? Where do you feel like you are as an artist, and what can your fans really expect moving forward from you?
A lot of grit, a lot of pain, and I mean that in a very like almost kind of like refreshing way, because I feel like I've gotten to this point where I think 2020 taught us all that like all this stuff is very flimsy, and all this stuff can just go away at any moment. And I took that for granted. Like, I think there's a moment where I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to do a show in Como. I've done shows in Como tons. I want to do shows elsewhere. Like, why? I'm trying to get these bookings in other places. You know, they're not taking a chance on me because I'm still not, you know, it's hard to get your name, get people in other places to take a chance on you just because you say, hey, I'm dope and I rap. It's like, okay, yeah, but where's just, you know, do you have thousands of fans? Not yet? Okay, well, we'll talk and, you know, let us know when you got that. So it's a grind to try to get people to take a chance on you. And so I realized, like, when all this went away, how much I missed doing shows, how much I missed that opportunity. So, like, I guess, like, there's more pain. I mean, like, I've without a lot of loss between my, you know, just this year in general, passing my grandmother from COVID. I had, my family dog, we had to kind of say goodbye to, you know, and then you think about think about the influential people we lost this year. Like, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, man. Rest in peace.
Oh my God.
You know, they're just people that, like, who are icons and just were childhood heroes that we had to say goodbye to abruptly. Chadwick, man. Like, there's people who, like, I think of that I'm just like, man, that was too soon. That was too good of a person for just all the pop culture and just culture in general. And so, like, when I guess, like, life experiences just made me, like, I guess I don't give a fuck as much. Like, I guess I'm going in on every record. Like, I don't care. I guess I've started just, like, be less perfectionist and more just get back to the place of having fun and just being like, you know, all right, put it out. And that's what I'm doing. Like, for the foreseeable future, I got a song a month dropping, and y'all can hear this now for the first time. I got a song dropping every month from now clear till, who knows, through till 2021 while I prep the next VHS album. Me and IMAX he's gonna fully produce that one. That's gonna be a long, slow. That's gonna be like a smoker. It's gonna be slow and low. We're gonna take our time on that one, but it's gonna be so worth it when we get done with that VHS sequel. But in the meantime, it's just gonna be grit. It's gonna be bars. It's gonna be my voice is probably gonna sound a little angrier. My voice is probably gonna sound a little like just kind of like fed up or more like frustrated, but in a good way. I guess like. I think we all feel like this inner frustration. We've all felt like we're just getting stir crazy sitting around and just this year has somehow felt like time won't slow down, but yet it's going slow at the same time. And so that kind of frustration's fueled a lot of my writing, to the point that I want to inspire people. I want to make people feel better about their situation. But then I also want to acknowledge that we're a little pissed off about the world right now. We're a little pissed off about just things going on. So I want to give people that thing of, yeah, right. I want to inspire and get people empowered the rest of this year and moving into 2021. And then VHS will be that masterpiece that I hope it'll be. So that's kind of what's the trajectory is right now, I guess.
Man, no, that's great. That's amazing. Yeah. And I can't wait for that tape. And
a lot of collabs. I got a shopping list, laundry list, shopping list, whatever you want to call it. But there are so many people that I've literally said, we're going to do a record. It never happens. We're going to do a record. It never happens. We're going to do a record. And every time I see him in a show, hey man, we still got to do something. Right. And I literally have had a list of people that I've been waiting to collaborate with. And so I'm just very, very excited to connect with those artists if they're willing. I'm putting egos aside. I used to get ego involved with business. I used to get ego involved with music. And I've just kind of, I guess 2020 has made me just say, fuck the ego. Let's just make some amazing music. Let's start raising each other up. I hope my city understands after this. I hope that people around here understand when we get back to some sort of normalcy, whatever that looks like. Right. I hope that we don't come back and then we just decide to talk shit about each other all the time, knowing that this shit's flimsy, knowing that this shit can go away. Like, I hope that we understand, like, okay, now when we all get back together, how about we just raise each other up and we all put each other on and then be like, okay, Como actually does have this insane music scene because everybody's hella supportive. Big cities do it all the time. And so I just don't, that's always been kind of missing from the culture around here, is just the desire to link up and just no ego, put all the ego aside. Let's do good business with each other. Let's not try to fuck each other over on the business tip and smile in each other's face. Like, let's actually like hold each other down when this whole thing kind of gets a little more normal. And I think Como's music scene could be the shit if we wanted to.
Yeah, so inspirations. Who would you say are some of your biggest inspirations or just influences? And not even so much just musically, but creatively as well.
Oh yeah, man. I'd say I always look at like performers more than necessarily musicians. So like I'm always like inspired by the creativity of certain entertainers, and like that goes down to like how I dress. You know, like I would say honestly, my biggest creator, and this is a surprise, a lot of people don't know this, is Chris Brown.
That makes a lot of sense though.
My biggest like I would say like when I see some, I'm like all like, but like I've always been a fan of him, and I always like looked at like his clothing, his dancing ability, the fact he can sing, the fact he can rap almost as well as he can do those other three, those other two, and then like on top of that, painter, skateboards if he wants to, does martial arts, triple back spinny flips for no reason, like started a clothing brand, you know. Everything he does, he dabbles in. He always likes to push the boundary of trying to, like, people forget, when he did that song, Beautiful People, that was the first time we heard that type of European type music come over to, and he combined it with this R&B sound. Oh, so good.
I love that song.
Don't you know? Like, that's my shit. Like, he was doing stuff that was out of the box before anybody realized it was gonna, and then look what music did. It did all of that, and he was ahead of the curve. So, like, I feel like him, Donald Glover. I'm such a Donald Glover, Childish Gambino fan. Like, just because, like, to see that man go from, you know, he started off doing just funny sketches on YouTube. If it's funny sketches on YouTube, I was a fan. I just found out about it then. Then I wait, this guy does stand up too? Oh, that's cool. A stand up special, hysterical.
Right.
Like, okay, this guy's funny. He got Comedy Central specials, all that. And I find out he's a writer. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, Community, hilarious. And then like. And then he just like, and then you see, and he raps too. And then I heard Freaks and Geeks, and I was like, who is this guy?
Yo.
And I was literally just so like, almost angry, because I was like, how does this much talent and he's like a Swiss Army knife.
It's ridiculous.
So I've always looked at those type of people, like I want to be like those people. I know like rap is something that I love doing. I'm never going to stop doing it. I think you've ever done it, you don't really ever retire, you never quit it. But You know, I want to do other things too. I want to be a multifaceted entertainer and performer, and those are the people that I look to as inspirations. But I also study the GOATs. I study, you know, I've been studying Dolly Parton, believe it or not, like her as a songwriter and her creative process and just her attitude for life and attitude towards equality and civil rights and things like that. So I don't know. I think like while I'm also studying, like, I mean, obviously Kendrick Lamar is and I'll say this right now, Kendrick Lamar is my favorite rapper of all time of any period. And that's a very bold statement.
I mean,
and I know it's a bold statement. I mean, and I know time hasn't. I know, and everybody looks at me and goes, "All time." I'm like, yeah.
Listen,
because there's nobody who there's that music makes me feel stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, you just can't, like, when you connect, me and him have nothing in common in our backgrounds whatsoever. We come from completely polar opposite places.
Right.
And yet somehow, like, when I put on I'll put on music of his that is like old, still hits.
Man.
Still amazing. Like, still puts me in a good mindset, still gets me wanting to be creative and want to write. When Control dropped, I spent like a solid week in a row, and I could not stop writing. I remember being and I think that right there said it all for me, was like how one guy can make a statement in a verse and get the whole industry to go, man, just get angry, and like, but he put a flame in everyone's ass at that moment. So those are the people I look as influences, and those are the people I want to be like, and that's the people that I listen to.
For sure.
You know, musically.
I get that, man. Especially Kendrick, but all three of those make a lot of sense. And shout out to Gambino and Chris Brown too, because I don't think Gambino does, but I think Chris Brown, like you said, with the history and with the scandal, I think he doesn't sometimes get the acknowledgement of
he does not
being
get his due, man.
Of being a, what I want to call it, not so much a pioneer, but he's a staple in a lot of those areas that you mentioned. When you talk about fashion, he's definitely been a fashion leader for a long time.
He directs his own music.
Yeah, so he
music
does a
videos,
lot.
I love my, shout out to Mojo Production, by the way, but my music videos, like that creative process of creating music videos is he creates films. And I look at him, I look at Kanye, I look at all these people that they, you know, you say what you want about them, but every time they create a video, it's about the aesthetic. It's about this grabbing people by the freaking throat and bringing you into this world for however long that song is, and they go, all right, we're done with you. Like, I love that they literally just make you forget where you're like, this video is crazy. Like, you're just absorbed into everything. And I've watched so many Chris Brown videos back and forth trying to do the dance moves and hat tricks and all that crazy shit. So, man,
you can't replicate it. Well, man, wrapping it up, I gotta ask this final question. It's the question I ask everybody. Okay. So you're a rapper, and I think we talked about it before in this interview and off camera. Nobody would probably expect that you would be a rapper, like, just first meeting you. But again, you're unapologetically you, and you allow that to come out through your music, which I think is immensely important. So with that being said, and with what you spoke to in terms of where you feel like you are as an artist now, what would you say makes you qualified?
Perseverance, but also if I can pack up everything that I own in the back of a Honda, drive all the way to LA by myself, sleep on couches, sleep in hotels, eventually go homeless, sleeping in my car, on the street, just in pursuit of just doing one show in Koreatown, and then like losing every cent I have, and then tail between my legs, coming back home with nothing to my name, and then like literally saying, okay, and I even to go through all of that, and then just say, all right, so I got to get ready for this album drop. Like, I literally, I never missed a beat. I didn't, when I came back, I was discouraged. I had to go through some mental health struggles, and I had to find out, like, okay, are you going to quit, or are we going to keep doing this? Is this just going to be something that you just kind of lay down and just die, or are you going to just make it happen? Because nobody who's made it so far just laid down and died and just let it go. You never know how close you are. So I think that's always been the thing that keeps me going, is like, you never know how close you are, and if I gave up right before I got it, I would never be able to live it down. I'd never be able to live with myself. And so, and just with the same mentality at 25/7, like, if there's a will, there's a way, and if you don't have time, you got to make time. So I feel like I'm qualified, because no matter what, I don't care if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if it takes me a year, 2, 3 years more than I'd like to, that project's going to be finished. There's a lot of people that they remember I've told them, oh yeah, I'm working on this project right now, blah, 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 should drop this summer. 2 years later, it finally drops. But it comes out the way I want it to, and it's, I never sacrifice quality. I don't want to do bad business with people. I want to do great business with good people who I know, I got their back, they got my back, and we just create together. So, like, in that instance, I mean, I've never apologized for who I was. I've never tried to be anything but me. And if I did, I recognized it and got myself back on track, or got the right people in my corner to get me back on track. So, I believe in determination. I believe in just perseverance and work ethic, and like, you got to make it with what you're handed. Like, literally, nobody is gonna help you get everything. Nobody's gonna hand you anything. So I've always approached that. That's what I was raised on. So, that's why I'm qualified. Go get my shit. Go listen to my music.